listeners, it's Friday, and with me as always is my beautiful and talented co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to all listeners to the end of the week. But don't worry, this is just the start of an amazing adventure.
That was a good one. Good job. Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of a love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for thought.
Well, let's jump right into the stories while I enjoy my morning cup of brew.
Oh, what are you going to enjoy for this Friday?
Georgia peach tea.
A Georgia peach tea. Love Georgia peach tea. For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for blowing up on my fiancé in front of his family for getting my daughter's cat out of the house? I, female 35, got engaged to my fiancé, Eric, male 37, 2 months ago. He moved in with me and my daughter Zoe, female 13. Everything was going well till he started complaining about Zoe's cat, which is strange because the cat is so sweet and quiet most of the time, and so I had no idea what the issue was exactly. Anyways, he went from complaining about the cat to making demands about her. He gave Zoe a list of places the cat can/can't go, things she's allowed to touch, banned her from places like kitchen and sofa, Zoe's favorite place to cuddle with her cat. Zoe showed me this list, and I had an argument with him, telling him he needed to stop this because it was ridiculous. He ranted about this being his house too, and how he expects things to change after we get married. A few days ago, I was at work and got a call from Zoe crying, saying her cat wasn't in her room and in the house. I freaked out too and went to look for her. Zoe and I looked for 2 hours before a neighbor of ours brought her back and told us that he saw Eric leaving her outside and getting in his car and leaving. I was surprised and quite angry. Zoe took her cat and went back inside. I immediately drove to my future in-laws' home where Eric said he'd be. The second I saw him sitting with his family, I went off and blew up on him in front of everyone. His mom asked what was happening, and I told her her son got my daughter's indoor cat outside the house, probably hoping for her to get lost. He argued about wanting me to stop spouting nonsense and go home, and we talked there before I refused. It got worse, and I ended up leaving after his family flipped out at him. He sent a bunch of texts talking about the stunt I pulled in front of his family. He said that he didn't mean to leave the cat out, but after checking the cams, I confirmed it. He still insisted that I humiliated him in front of his family and tried to turn them against him. He's been staying with a friend and has stopped calling and texting. Am I the a-hole for blowing up at him in front of his family? Here's some cat tax.
Oh, she got Capricorn. I'll put it up for the listeners. Wow. Okay, well, no, you are in no universe, even in the dark dimension, would you be considered the a-hole for what you did to your hopefully now ex. That's terrible. He's already showing you what he's gonna be, especially when it's something as like a cat. That's regardless of be a cat or what have you. He's just learning what he can get away with.
And the list of rules
for
and
the child
places,
and the cat.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
Because you can go up to a cat with a list and go, look, hey, you know, touch couch no more. And the cat's gonna be like, you know what? Yes. Because you know what cats do? Listen to their owners. That's ridiculous. He's 37, right?
Yeah,
he's a little older to be acting like that.
He banned a 13-year-old from going to the kitchen.
That's terrible. OP, you're not the a-hole. Maybe, in all seriousness, it might be time to move on from that situation, because it sounds like he's not going to stop at the cat. It sounds like he's learning how much he can control in your life and how much you're willing to let him get away with. That's a scary situation. But yeah, you're too old at 37 to be looking at life as a demand list and making things bend to you. I think sometimes some people need to step back a little bit and let life happen around them. Sometimes it's a good thing. So yeah, he's scary. Move on. Your cat is cute. What's his name? Did he ever say the name of the cat?
No.
Yeah, she's cute. That's terrible that he would throw a cat out, like especially a house cat. Anyway, let's hear what Reddit has to say.
So, Reddit also says that she's not the a-hole. In fact, there's a commenter who said, his house too? Really? He moved in and now makes all the rules? How much do you value this controlling relationship? This man is going to get worse and more demanding. Set your boundaries and toss this person to the roadside. You and your daughter will be much happier in the long run.
Yep. And Mittens. That is its name now.
Mittens the cat?
Yes.
Well, let's see how redeeming this next fiancé can be. For our next story, am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé I don't like her wedding dress?
Get me on this ride.
So, my fiancé and I are getting married in 9 months. She's been dress shopping with her girls for months now. She found the dress she loved and bought it and was too excited to keep it a secret. She showed me pics of the bridesmaids' dresses and I told her they were pretty. They matched my groomsmen's suits really well. Anyway, she brought her dress out and asked what I thought. I specifically asked her if she wants the God's honest truth and wants me to critique the dress, or if she knows she loves it and just wants to show me. She said she wanted my opinion. She put the dress on and came out of the bathroom, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little disappointed. She's a beautiful woman and looks incredible in anything, of course, but the dress completely dwarfed her and didn't really fit the wedding theme she has worked so hard for. She wanted a foresty, magical, and whimsical type theme, flower crowns on the bridesmaids, etc. But she chose a super sparkly dress with a huge skirt, which looked nothing like the simply body-hugging sexy dresses she had been repeatedly showing me. She picked basically a huge Disney princess dress, and I just didn't like how it looked at all. I was honest when I told her I didn't like it, and I was surprised she picked it because it just doesn't seem to match her, and I just thought it was too much poof and sparkle. She got really quiet and stormed back upstairs, and then stormed out of the house and went to her mom's. Texted me saying she couldn't believe I would say I didn't like it and what a dickhead I am, and has blocked my number. This is our first major fight, and I'm just so annoyed because I asked if she wanted a real opinion and she said yes. Am I the a-hole for telling her I don't like the dress? Edit to add, aha, I read my credit card statement. The dress was $9,000. Might help explain the reaction. Oh, you don't like this $9,000 dress? Great, because I can't return it. Probably went through her head. I don't know what to do but sit here and laugh. Is laugh crying a thing? Am I the a-hole?
Laugh crying is a thing. Look, I'll start it with this. You'll go and learn, because it sounds like, how old is OP? They're young. They sound young. They're in their 20s, right?
They got to be.
It sounds like it. I'll say it like this. The reason why I think he sounds young in my book is because that's a rookie move. You're going to learn with your partner, regardless of man, woman, doesn't matter. When someone says, I want your opinion, my son, you will learn. You never give your true opinion on something. And I know people are in the comments and listeners were like, no, you should always stop. You clearly not been there, especially when you're talking about this circumstance. It's something that your wife really wanted. What does it matter what she's wearing outside of it's hurting herself? It really doesn't matter what the dress looked like at that point. She just wants to know that you're okay with whatever she picks. She's not really looking for your opinion, but you'll learn. You will learn, son. It'll take time. I think in this situation, you were giving your honest opinion, and I understand in a new relationship where that's a problem. And as you guys get older together, when you guys ask each other what true opinions are, you'll actually respect them. But at this moment in time, that's not what she was looking for. You're not the a-hole in my opinion, because with your perspective right now in life, you were being honest to what you believed, and you asked her if she wanted the honesty. That's where she was wrong. Her reaction to it was yes, based off the $9,000 sticker, she can't return this thing. Wedding dresses are always expensive, so regardless of how much it costs, it's still probably one of the most expensive things you can do at the wedding outside of like the ring and the venue. So yeah, I don't believe you're the a-hole. You're gonna learn some stuff. There's your opinion, and then there's what you're gonna tell your partner, especially when they're just looking for you to make them feel good about a choice that they may or may not feel strongly about yet. But she sounds like she wants to be a froofy Disney princess. Then you know what? You support her and you say, you look amazing, honey. You're a Disney froofy princess. Let's get married.
Let's get married. Well, all of Reddit says everyone sucks here.
Oh, there's that one, yeah.
That's right. You should have really known better when it comes to this, complimenting something as prolific as a wedding dress that was already purchased. And then on top of that, she shouldn't have really broken that taboo that's always about
seeing the bride before the wedding, yeah.
Yeah, there's just something more special about the day of, where there's nothing you could take back at that point.
You couldn't take it back anyway. She already bought the dress.
Regardless, both sides had not really thought this through well enough. And yes, it does show that they're fairly young.
It's a learning experience, and it'll be a fun memory for them when they're like, when they're telling this story to their family and friends of, when I saw your grandmother's dress, Jesus, it was so bad. And then, they'll laugh about it.
Well, there was a commenter. There's actually several commenters, but I will just say this one comment that I thought was kind of different when it comes to the bride's perspective. They start with, OOP, you're not an a-hole, but you're an idiot.
Yeah.
She has bought the dress. Hundreds, likely thousands, have been spent on it. You can't return it. So now she has to fork out a ton more money to buy her second choice gown or wear something she knows you don't like. No matter what, she will now feel shitty about her clothes on your wedding day. What possible good could come of telling her you don't like the dress she already bought? Advice: tell her that with some minor alterations you would love it, that it was just that it didn't fit quite right, or that some of the sparkles were wrong. Pick something she can fix. Then maybe you can save her feelings. And the OP actually responded with, dang, I feel like a major idiot right now. Definitely noted.
He'll learn. These are just fun experiences. I love these type of stories because it's harmless in, if this is the road bump, if this is, because he says it's just like their first argument, it's a learning experience.
And she
man.
went straight for the black number.
Yeah, that's the funny part about all of it. I think it's just something fun you guys will talk about. It was the year 2023 and it was the last time I gave my real opinion on anything.
Well, we tried to deal with some wedding dresses, but let's actually go on to the wedding itself. For our next story, am I the a-hole for wearing a wedding dress at a wedding? So, my friend, 20 female, and I, 19 male, have been friends for a few years, and she recently got engaged. A week ago, I got a DM from her for a small costume party she was hosting as a celebration for her getting engaged. I asked if there was a theme, and she said there wasn't. I'm a cosplayer, so I have a lot of choices. I didn't want to rock up in an anime cosplay, so I thought it would be funny to go to an engagement party as the corpse bride. I arrived at her house yesterday, and everything seemed normal. A few people complimented my costume, and I was having a lot of fun. After 10 minutes, my friend's fiancé walked out in a black tuxedo and announced this was actually their wedding. Apparently, my friend saw a video of someone doing this and wanted to do the same. He asked us all to go to the backyard for the ceremony to begin. I went straight to him. I asked him if I should quickly go home and change my outfit and that I would get back before it started. He told me it was fine since I didn't know this was the wedding. I trusted him and followed everyone outside. They got married and everything seemed good. The reception was just in their house again, so everyone just walked back inside and picked up where they left off. I tried talking to my friend and celebrating with her, but she kept making excuses to not talk to me. I assumed it was just because she was tired from the big day and wanted some time alone. I didn't bother her after that, and the party soon ended. I got home and half an hour passed when my phone started getting notifications. I checked and it was my friend texting me. She was cussing me out and telling me how I ruined her wedding. I was really confused and asked what I did. That only made her more angry. She told me it was basic knowledge not to wear a wedding dress to a wedding. I reminded her I had no idea it was a wedding and that I asked her, now husband, if I should change, and he said it was fine. She didn't respond, but I got a text from her husband. He asked why I would tell her he said it was fine. I told him he said it was fine. Then he said how I should have changed anyways, and it's my fault that the two are now fighting over this. I've tried texting her that I was sorry, and if I had known, I wouldn't have done it. I woke up today and saw her and her husband have blocked me on everything. So am I the a-hole for not changing out the wedding dress when I found out it was actually a wedding? Edit: I am a guy. I cosplay the character Emily from The Corpse Bride and had blue paint all over. I'm also Australian, and I've never heard a costume party meaning fancy. Everyone was dressed up in funny costumes. Am I the a-hole?
OP, we'll start with this. You are definitely not the a-hole in this situation. I think this is hilarious. Your friends are toxic as hell. And it sounds like they're going to use this excuse to kind of like forge their relationship around their hate for you now. You know how sometimes when people do that, a couple will pick someone to hate and become strong together through their hatred of you.
It will hulk up.
In the darkness, we've become stronger. Like, how can you fault someone for being invited to a party, which it was? That was the guys. This is just a party, right? That they were going to show up to an engagement party. He shows up dressed to the nines in probably a dope outfit. He's a cosplayer, so good for him. It probably looks so sleek. And then you guys ruined it, coming out in a tuxedo going, by the way, well, this is a wedding. Shame on you guys. That's on the husband and the wife for doing that to everyone, not just the OP. Everyone in that situation was probably like, oh, we're at a wedding. Cool. And then for the husband, or at that point, the fiance, go, yeah. You're good, dude. You're good.
You didn't know.
Yeah, like, that's harmless. That's great. I'm like, okay, this guy's a good guy. The wedding happens, everything comes back, and then after the whole thing, like for the wife, the bride in the situation, not to have understood that this was under the guise of a party
A costume
and not
party.
being understanding of it. You know what I mean? Like they just sound like toxic people. I would just avoid them. Take it as a blessing that they got you on block and move on, because it sounds like you're a good person. There wasn't any bad intent behind it. This will probably be the only time that is acceptable that someone wearing, outside of the bride wearing a wedding dress, wearing another wedding dress at a wedding. That's hilarious. Good for you that it all happened like that. That's a fun memory for you anyway. I would just block out the fact that they're being petty. Like I said, in the darkness, they'll hate you together.
Well, all of Reddit says that he is not the a-hole, and there's a couple commenters that I find funny. The first one goes, I love when I read a headline and instantly form my opinion, but the story completely changes it. Not the a-hole, and you're probably better off without people like them in your life. They're both a-holes.
Yep.
And the other goes, not the a-hole. The facts of this are pretty simple. You were told this was a costume party, so you wore a costume. When you asked about a theme, you were not given any restrictions. And our other commenter goes, not the a-hole. The facts of this are pretty simple. You were told this is a costume party, so you wore a costume. When asked about a theme, you were not given any restrictions. They sprung a surprise wedding on you. Once you realized this, you asked the groom if you should go home and change, and the groom said no. They had multiple chances to get you to change, and they didn't take any of them, so getting mad with you after the fact doesn't make any sense. Well, we have an update for this.
Oh, you.
This is a surprise even for myself.
Sweet.
I honestly didn't think this would get as much attention as it did, and I've tried reading through all the comments, but damn, there were a lot. I do appreciate everyone's feedback. Also, I'm not sharing photos. Sorry, just for privacy reasons. I'm sorry. Now, the update. Since they blocked me on everything, I didn't try to reach out since it would be a waste of effort, but I didn't block them back. If they wanted to talk, I was fine with it. 2 days ago, I was unblocked by my friend. She asked if we could call and talk about what happened, and I agreed. She apologized for blowing up at me like she did, but also told me she was still upset. I was only made aware because of the comments and now her that wearing a wedding attire to anything wedding related is common sense. All I knew was that no white on the wedding day. Honestly, after people informed me, I felt awful and downright stupid. So I apologized back for not running it through her like I should have since I didn't know. I know lots of people were telling me to cut her off, but I've known her since I was 14, so I'm glad we can stay friends. Her husband, on the other hand, he had told her that he came up to me and asked me to change, and apparently I told him it didn't matter because I was already there, or something along those lines. She was crying a lot while telling me. After she blew up at me and I told her the real story, she got pissed at her husband. The husband suggested both of them block me so the fight would stop. She agreed to it, but was still upset by it all. Eventually, she started asking people who were at the wedding to see what happened. 3 people saw me walk up to him and heard me ask. This is where she learned that her husband lied to her. Again, a huge fight between the two. Turns out, he's hated me since I met them 5 years ago. They had already been dating for a year beforehand. I became good friends with her, but not him. He felt as though I was trying to take his girlfriend. I don't know what I did to make him feel this way. She's beautiful, but I'd never do that shit to anyone. I don't know why he'd waited 5 years, but he decided the day of his wedding was the best time to get rid of me. I'm not really sure what's going to happen to them in the future. She's staying at another friend's house until her and her husband are able to talk about it. I doubt I'll update anymore, like update they're getting divorced, because that feels insensitive. Again, thanks to everyone for all the advice and point of views. It helped me so much. Have a good day or night. Edit. My friend is doing a lot better and plans to talk to her husband soon. I've also shown her my post since I felt like she had a right to know. While some comments made her quite upset, but she knows she overreacted. My friend's emotions are always intense, but she tries her best to keep them under control. She's seen people talk about the red flags in her husband, but isn't sure what to do. She told me she'll decide based on what he does when they talk about it. I'll support her no matter what she decides. Even if he rubs me the wrong way and I have my own opinion on what she would do, it's up to her. She's an amazing person and I just want her to be happy.
Sounds like he's a good friend. And it sounds like the OP's friend's husband is a habitual liar. This may only be one circumstance, but if you're going to lie that hard when there's a lot of people around, what do you do in your personal life when no one's around? That's scary, right? I'm not trying to make judgment on people off of one action, because maybe it could have just been harmless as him going, you know what? I don't want to start a fight with you on our wedding night.
I think here it's the fact that he lied to begin with at the wedding, starting the whole issue to begin with between them, and then turned around and continued to lie essentially on their wedding night, causing this whole argument.
Let's both
force
block
the
him.
block.
Let's
right?
both block him. We don't have to deal with him anymore, babe.
And then she finds out the truth, and then he lies again,
Yeah,
saying,
right. He's a habitual liar.
"Yep, no, it's bad.
He's
it's
digging that hole real deep.
you can't come back from that."
No, a liar just lies.
I
That's
guess
all I know.
we'll just hope if whatever this wedding led to, hopefully the bride makes the best choice for herself, because it seems like either one, he'll learn, and the relationship will get good. She'll learn, and she'll learn to leave.
You know what the the messed up part for that relationship is? It already started off a really bad lie foundation.
Starting with the guests.
Like, ooh, that's bad. But hey, it sounds like at least she's got a good friend in the OP, and regardless of what happens, at least someone's in her corner.
I also have to add on that now every listener and us should know, at any type of wedding event, whether it's the engagement or not, you apparently shouldn't do anything that concerns any type of wedding attire.
I didn't know that. That's interesting, I guess.
Now on to our next story. Am I the a-hole for buying lower grade steaks when my in-laws visit and serving my mom and dad Wagyu? My wife and I live far away from both of our sets of parents. We visit them a couple times a year, and they visit us about the same. My mom and dad love food. They will buy pounds of garlic and leave it in a rice maker for a month to make black garlic. They plan their vacations around amazing restaurants. My in-laws are lovely people, but boiling chicken drumsticks is fancy for them, and they refuse to eat steak that isn't well done. I discovered this the first time I went to their home for dinner. I wasn't even asked how I like my steak. Everyone got a well-done steak. It took me years to convince my wife to try a medium rare steak. Now she loves them. I bought some beautiful prime steak for them when they came over when we moved in together. I made theirs medium well, and I died a little inside. Her dad took it back to the grill and destroyed them. So now I buy select grade meat. I've been buying some excellent quality Wagyu for when my parents visit, not every single time. Maybe once a year. My wife says I'm being an a-hole by not treating both families the same. I don't think I should waste money on great food for them when I know how they will treat it. Am I the a-hole?
Yeah, you're a little bit the a-hole. And I'm only going to talk about it from the actual, facts of this story. I understand his point of view, where when people disrespect the steak, well done steak is gross, but you're allowed to have the opinion if you like it that way, right? I know that there's people out there in the world that will not eat a steak unless it's well done. I also know people that won't unless it's medium rare. I happen to like it that way, but my preference on how I treat you with how you like your food will not impact what I go and buy for you if that's what I'm doing for one pair versus the other. That's where the problem is it's almost like I understand what he's saying. Why would I waste money on something that's supposed to be eaten this way? There's no such thing as a right way to eat anything. There's a million ways to cook every food you've ever touched because everyone likes it a different way. If I'm going to logically look at it, and especially if I'm looking at it from your wife's perspective, if you're treating one party like this, you've got to treat the other party like this. That's just the way it works, even if they like it burnt. That's just how I feel. You definitely are the a-hole. But the stickler in me goes, yeah, why not downgrade the meat if they're gonna have it that way? It's gonna taste the same basically, right? But in my mind, I'm just gonna stick with how logically I would go about it: one for all for one.
Well, Reddit doesn't agree, and they say that he's not the a-hole.
I should have just done it.
In fact, there's one commenter that's got a lot of likes because their viewpoint is actually really valid in this. They say, not the a-hole, but perhaps you can think of something else your in-laws would appreciate on a splurge. Drinks, desserts, or even an experience that would be meaningful to them. And more importantly, make your wife feel heard, validated, and like her family is important to you.
That makes sense. That's a good point of view. I feel bad for the OP's in-laws because they're missing out. If a well done steak,
Everybody's got their taste.
I guess.
Well, for our next story, am I the a-hole for not wanting my stepson to move in? My husband and I have 4 children between the ages of 1 to 7. My husband has an older son, 15, with his ex, and is also quote-unquote dad to her older son, 20. We live in a 3-bedroom house. When my stepson stays, he sleeps on the couch. Despite him not really living with us, my husband is still active in his life and spends lots of time with him. My stepson's mom has 3 younger kids with her ex-husband and recently got a new boyfriend. She lives in a 2-bedroom apartment with stepson getting a room, the younger 3 sharing, and her using the living room as a bedroom. Her taste in men is awful, and her newest boyfriend is no different, and my stepson has awful things to say about him. Despite this, and despite the fact she's only been dating him for around 10 months, she's known him longer, she is moving in with him in a week. He is somewhat well off and lives in an empty 4-bedroom house as his kids are all adults. There's a clear benefit for the kids to have a bigger space and a yard, but obviously a much bigger danger in moving your kids in with a man you haven't been dating for long. My husband has tried to urge her out of making this choice, but she seems set on it. She has some major mental health issues and doesn't receive any child support from her ex-husband, so I understand to an extent why she needs to rely on a new boyfriend so heavily. A month ago, my stepson got into an argument with his mom and stayed with us for a few nights before going to his great-grandpa's, who he has stayed with since. He has said that he will never move into the boyfriend's house. Last week, he asked his dad if he could move in with us, and we told him we'd discuss it. I don't like the idea for a few reasons. The main one is space, as we don't have a lot of it. He would either have to share with one of his much younger brothers, or we'd have to give him his own room and cram 4 kids in together. Another reason is that my stepson isn't exactly the easiest teenager and has already proved to be a bad influence on my younger kids, and he has a bad temper. I told my husband this, and although he was unhappy and tried to change my mind, he did go back to his son and tell him that it couldn't happen right now. If there weren't other options for him, my answer would have been different. His grandpa has the spare room and has already said he can stay for as long as he wants. My husband and I are starting to look at other rental options with 4 bedrooms for us to possibly move to in the near future. We had dinner with stepson a few nights ago and explained our reasoning and told him he was still welcome whenever he wants. He doesn't seem to be upset and is comfortable at his grandpa's. However, his older brother has apparently found out about the situation. He's in the military in another state and has called my husband up to call him a POS and evidently blamed the whole situation on me. Are we being a-holes? Is it not better he be in a home where he has his own space and is still close by both parents?
So this one's a very unfortunate story, I think, because it sounds like the OP says that the mother has a mental illness, and it kind of sounds like she really doesn't have a choice. She's not getting child support, so yes, she's right. She's clinging to the next floating board because that's what she has to do to get by. There are a lot of places and a lot of people that have to do that, so I feel bad for her to be in that situation. The son in this situation, it sounds like he's every 15 or 16-year-old kid, for however old he is. He sounds like every teenager that's been a part of a split home, right? There's anger issues, there's all the other things that come with growing up and hitting puberty, so you got to deal with that, right? They don't get better unless you teach them and you work with them and you have them around. You don't just dip them off and they get better all of a sudden as they grow up. So that being an excuse about him being a hard teenager, every teenager comes with their problems. Your kids that you're talking about that are perfect right now, they're all under 7. Yes, it's a different situation. Yes, it's easier because they're younger. They're going to be the same way. That's just how life works. So for you to give that as a, I would not want him to live with us, that makes you a bad parent. So we'll start with that. You're definitely the a-hole. I know it's a difficult situation, but that's a kid. Clearly he doesn't want to be in part of that toxic situation that his mother's going into. Yeah, you're right. Logic would say you don't move in 4 children with a man that they say that she's previously known him,
But it
but they've been
doesn't say
together
how
for
long.
10 months. You truly do not know someone till you live with them. And you're doing that and you're moving in with 4 kids. I would be the same way in that situation because you don't know what type of harm's going to come. So I'm happy for the OP's son having a grandfather that would let him stay there. At least there is some place for him to go away from all the happenings.
They're crazy.
I'm happy that they're looking at renting another place so that way they could maybe accommodate the kid. Hopefully that does come to fruition, but she's definitely the a-hole here for looking for the excuses as to not taking the kid, in my opinion.
Well, Reddit says everyone sucks here.
Okay.
And
you got me again with this.
Here's a commenter that actually put it all down. It says, everyone sucks here. You, his dad, his mom, the boyfriend, everybody. Everybody created new families and seems to expect the teenager to fend for himself. He's in a bad situation with his equally crappy mom. As a father, your husband needs to man up and step in as a parent to ensure he doesn't fall through the cracks. The tone of your posts reads that you don't give a fuck about anyone other than the kids you created. If the young man has issues, who could blame him? The adults in his life are failing him.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better myself. Hopefully they, again, get to some resolution with getting the bigger house and working on their relationship and getting everyone better.
Well, we went from that family situation. Let's go into this one, shall we? For our next story, am I the a-hole for making my stepmom look crazy so I can avoid babysitting her kids? I, 16 female, live with my dad. My mom passed in a bad accident a couple of years ago. My dad met Josie in a grief group or something like that, and they got married last year. Josie has 2 kids, 8 male and 6 male, and I hate living with them, to be honest. 8 male has like really bad ADHD and is constantly accidentally breaking things, making messes, and has meltdowns over the smallest things. 6 male is kind of similar but not quite as bad. They both get into my room and take things or break them. I babysat them once when our parents were dating, and I'd rather jump building than ever have to watch them again. I swear to God. Josie offered to pay me when they were dating, but I said no. Now that we all live together, she's been trying to make me deal with them more and more, usually while my dad's not home. My dad thinks I should bond with them more, but he said I don't have to babysit. Josie keeps trying to pull the just watch them for an hour while I go to the store, or loading me up with chores since I'm not watching the kids. I have chores that I do already, so it's not like I'm doing nothing. I just want some time to myself on the weekend. My dad doesn't see it happen, so he thinks I'm exaggerating. I have the smaller bedroom in the house we moved into, but I found out when I was putting stuff away that it has a hatch into like a side attic. Nobody else knows about it. I've started keeping stuff I don't want anyone else to get into in there, and it's big enough that I can spread out a blanket and some pillows and read or work on my laptop in peace. I had the idea to just go in there and avoid Josie when my dad's not home, and it worked. She called for me and came looking for me but couldn't find me. My dad texted me and asked me where I was, and I told him in my room and dropped my phone location for him to see. Josie still couldn't find me, but I slipped out before my dad came home and was lying on my bed with my book when he got there. Josie got big mad asking where I've been, and I said in my room. My dad showed her the location I sent when she said I was lying and snuck out. Now they're arguing because Josie insists I wasn't in the house, and my dad thinks she's lying and taking it out on me because I wouldn't babysit. I do feel a little bad now. I'm making Josie look kind of nuts, but I also don't want to babysit or spend my entire Saturday doing chores. Am I the a-hole?
This is a good story. So how old is the OP, for clarification?
The OP is 16.
16. All right. And the OP's stepbrothers are 8 and 6. They're kids with unfortunate mental disabilities, and that's a hard place to be in, especially when you're not used to taking care of or being around people with that. I understand too, though, to be 16 and want a little bit of time when you're not in school or doing the things that regular teenagers do. Sounds like she already does chores around the house, right? So she is being kept busy by her new stepmom and the kids.
Correct.
Which it kind of sounds like she's almost being forced to become pseudo parent to them now, because she's being given a lot more responsibility, and now they're kind of pushing for her to be a part of it. And when she isn't babysitting them physically, she's now doing more chores in its stead. So either you get to babysit and watch them, or if you're not doing that, I'm going to make you do a bunch of more chores that you didn't have to do. So she's being punished regardless. That's a tough situation. I love that she found a little side hatch in her room. I think it's funny because in my mind, she's clever. You know, she's like, hey, I'm in my room. I'm going to drop you my location. I'm here. I think it's hilarious because I know that's probably upset her stepmom more than anything. But I bet that most people, if they watched that in like a TV show or movie, we're all doing the same thing and laugh going, that's a clever girl. That's funny. Especially if the mother isn't seeing what's happening with how much she's pushing on the daughter at this point to basically be the mother role when she's not around, which is wrong. I understand watching them every once in a while, but when you're giving someone the choice of do more chores or watch them as they break everything around you, and not being given because a 16-year-old wouldn't know how to take care of these type of things, right? You're not equipped with that. So when you go, hey, do this, deal with it, that's not fair. I'm going to say that in my mind, I chuckle at it. She's not the a-hole. I understand that it may look a certain way, but I don't think she's the a-hole for that situation.
Well, all of Reddit also says that she's not the a-hole. In fact, I've got a couple comment updates that she put in her post.
Nice.
She said, edit because questions in the comments. I'm not allowed to have a lock on my door and got in trouble for blocking it to keep the kids out. Josie flat out lies to my dad when I refuse to do what she wants while he's not there. And until now, he's believed her. And I've gotten grounded for being disrespectful to her, even though the only thing I did was say no. I've tried having a conversation with both my dad and Josie together, and my dad separately, and she denies everything, and my dad thinks it's just because I don't like the idea of having the step family. Nobody listens to me. I think what I'm going to do, since now he thinks she's lying and is wondering if she actually has been punishing me for not watching her kids, is keep my stuff hidden in the attic and not go stay in there for a while like some people suggested. I'm going to try and record Josie, but I think I might talk to my coach at school too, because she's been noticing that I'm losing weight and gassing out too fast at practice, and asked if everything is okay the other day. Maybe she can talk to my dad about it since the stress is affecting my training, or figure out who to get involved that my dad would listen to. Edit 2. Okay, I talked to my coach and she had me talk to the guidance counselor, and it turned into a whole big deal. Another lady came in and asked me a bunch of questions about my home life, and I had to go get a physical done. The doctor says I'm way underweight and stressed, but nothing else seems wrong, so I have to sit out of practices for 2 weeks and track my meals for a while to make sure I'm eating enough. People talk to my dad and Josie too, and Josie is mad and thinks I'm lying to people at school to get them in trouble with DHR. They had a big fight and everyone is still mad. My dad said that for the next 2 weeks I can spend the weekend with my grandparents. They live a couple of hours away to make sure I can rest and no chores for me during the week. He said that Josie isn't allowed to ask me to do anything and she's not supposed to come into my room anymore without his permission. He also said he would get a lock for my door this week, but it was a privilege and I can't abuse it or it's gone. I have to go see a therapist and some other stuff too. I haven't told anyone about my spot, but I did tell my dad that I really was home and mostly in my room. I was just trying to avoid Josie that day because she was being unreasonable, and I hid whenever I heard her coming. He said he figured something like that was going on. He said he's going to try and work every other Saturday morning for a while to be around more on the weekends and figure this out. Josie won't talk to me at all. Additionally, commenters asked how much weight she lost. In the period of about 6 months, she lost 40 pounds. She is 40 pounds underweight because of the stress.
That's terrible, especially for a teenager.
She says that it's not that she's having any eating disorder. She's not throwing up. She just says she just doesn't have the motivation to eat because of everything that's going on. And she's actually explained in her comments these 2 boys. Apparently, the first babysit session that she tried with them, the 8-year-old boy tried to jump out the 2nd story window. And when she tried to stop him, he bit her so badly she needed stitches. So the behavior of these kids are so bad that Josie, the stepmother's parents, don't even want to take care of these kids. So
and that's where my comment goes back to, this is a 16-year-old that's not equipped for this type of childcare, but you're hoisting them on her, or going, you're going to do more chores instead if you don't want to.
the feeling is
40
like,
pounds is tragic. That's no wonder all those people got involved. I thought we were talking about 5-10 pounds. That's still bad. But to the extreme of 40 pounds on a teenager, that is a huge swing.
that's in athletics, by the way, because they monitor that differently.
Huge swing. Oh, wow. The stepmom's terrible. To have forced someone into a situation that's what's happening to their body, I feel bad for her, but it sounds like they're starting to change some stuff. I know that she said that she's going to go to counseling. I hope that Josie, the mother, goes and gets some counseling too, because she clearly has not seen, and that situation will not get better on its own.
Oh,
If
definitely
the
not.
stepmother is already not talking to the daughter, it already shows her frame of mind on that situation, and I feel bad for the OP because that's not going to get any better. There's already a line drawn in the sand now, so it should go further than just the OP getting some therapy in there. She also needs to go get some therapy, because it sounds like those kids, everything about that situation is bad, and it's not going to get better unless they start getting help.
She actually explained her dynamic with her father before Josie came into the picture, and apparently she picked up a lot of the chores at home, a lot of the cleaning and the cooking during the week. When she had days of practice, her father would pick up cooking dinner. So they had a very good back and forth. Yeah. And it almost seems that Josie, the stepmother, doesn't want to deal with her own kids either, has been trying to hoist it off on other people. And because other people won't take it, she's making the only person pay for it that she can, and it's her stepdaughter. This is just a case, and I hate to say this because I hate this trope, because I have a step parent that I actually care for very much, but this really is the case of an evil stepmother gone real bad.
That was our last one.
That was our last story.
Jeez.
These stories fly by, don't
the
they?
Pain train. Oh my goodness. Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you've seen the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We will be regularly posting on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on the stories today in the comments below. Maybe you agree with what we said, maybe you didn't. We'd like to find out. And don't remember, and remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.